watching Germantown Municipal Television, your source for everything Germantown.
Hello, and welcome to On the Beat on Germantown Municipal Television. I'm your host, Rodney Bright, Deputy Chief of the Germantown Police Department. On this show, we will provide you, the viewers, with a behind-the-scenes look at policing in Germantown and introduce you to some of the men and women who work hard to keep Germantown one of the safest cities in Tennessee. We also hope to provide information related to public safety in a manner useful to our entire community. Today, I'm glad to welcome Captain Nick Godwin, our SWAT team commander, who will speak about the department's tactical team and some recent achievements. Later, we will speak with Joanna Young, the founder of Cop Stop, and Kristen Bowman, a Cop Stop host, about how the program has positively impacted the police department and the community. Finally, we will speak to Captain Mike Fisher about holiday shopping, safety initiatives as we move into the busy holiday shopping season. But first, I'm glad to welcome Captain Nick Godwin to the show. Welcome to the show, Nick.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Glad to have you. And SWAT team, recently been in the headlines, I guess, as far as some achievements. And what can you tell us about maybe some recognition that the team recently received?
We have. So recently we competed in the MTOA, which stands for Mississippi Tactical Officers Association, SWAT competition in South Haven, Mississippi. We competed against teams from all over the state of Mississippi and the MidSouth area, and our team actually won 5 of the 8 events and then came in first overall in the competition. And they had a very, very good showing in the competition.
I think it's one we always think of our department as being kind of an example for others in a lot of areas. I think that's just an example of that, and them go out and competing. And I know that the ultimate goal was to do their best and place well, but what are some other benefits that come from competing and being around other teams like that?
Gearing up for a competition, the training that goes into getting ready for the competition is extremely useful for the team. The team spends a lot of time working on marksmanship, physical fitness, tactics, which all help us as a team perform in real life, just getting ready for the competition. And then once we get there, we get to network with teams from all over and spend time talking about real life scenarios that they've encountered, things that have gone well for them, things that hadn't, and we do the same thing for them, and we learn just an immense amount from each other when we all come together in that competitive environment.
I know some of our viewers may be thinking, well, I didn't know Germantown had a SWAT team, and what would you say to them about, what's the need or what's the benefit, that we gain from having some specially trained officers?
That's, our citizens expect us to be able to handle anything that comes our way as a police department. And so the need for a SWAT team is just to have a group of guys that are trained in specific areas and have a higher level of training than the average everyday patrol officer to handle some of these really dynamic situations that can threaten our society in Germantown. And the guys take the training very seriously. There's different tools and pieces of equipment that require a level of competency that we just don't have time for necessarily the entire department to keep up on, and this group of guys takes it upon themselves to stay proficient with all this stuff.
And I know they spend a lot of time honing those skills and working on those technical things of that assignment, but where could we see or where would we find the officers when they're not doing SWAT stuff?
So our SWAT team currently has 13 members. Every single member, including myself, is either a supervisor or an officer in our patrol division. And those guys, day in, day out, spend their time patrolling neighborhoods, conducting traffic enforcement, doing vacation checks, anything a normal police officer would do. And then a couple days a month, we go out and we train the SWAT stuff so that they're proficient in that as well.
I think that's really important for the community to understand that these officers are out there. They may be the first one to a scene, they're first responders. They're doing other patrol things first and working a shift, or in your case, commanding a shift or being a shift supervisor. So I think that it requires a little bit of recognition for going above and beyond, because it's not something that they have to do.
Correct. It's completely voluntary, and they spend a lot of time and sometimes some personal time staying up on all their skills they need to and staying with their physical standards and working out and staying in shape. It's a very heavy investment, and our guys love it, and they're happy to do it for the citizens of Germantown.
And I would, along the lines of preparedness and partnerships, I know that when we look at policing in Germantown, we don't just look at ourselves as an island. We understand that, you know, we're part of a bigger response and law enforcement partnership in our area. How does that factor into what you guys do with the SWAT team and maybe some of our other partners and law enforcement agencies in the area?
So for our team, we spend a lot of time training with other SWAT teams from the area, Shelby County, Memphis, Bartlett, Collierville, DeSoto County, not just so we can learn from each other, but when you have a SWAT team, sometimes we need to back each other up. Some of the bigger agencies, you know, they may have guys out of town, or they may get multiple call-outs, or they may be on a situation for a really long period of time and need help, and we would go help them, and they would do the same for us in return. Sometimes with things like search warrant and arrest warrant service, federal agencies such as the FBI or the Drug Task Force will call us to help them serve the warrants in all kinds of areas in Shelby County, and we do that as well.
How would you say that our citizens could see value in what we have, that capability, having a SWAT team?
I think, you know, if our citizens saw all the equipment, the robots and all the different stuff that our SWAT team has the ability to use, and the amount of training that it takes to have that kind of equipment, stay proficient on it, and be available for our citizens to really just preserve safety, you know, to try to end every situation as peacefully as we can, and use these tools and the amount of work it takes to stay up on those things, they would absolutely see the value in it.
And I'm guessing not everyone can be on the team. It probably takes something special. And can you talk about what it would take for someone before they were put onto the team?
We have a certain number that are on our team, and for somebody to get on, it first takes a vacancy. So that would take somebody either getting promoted out of the team or going to a different division, or simply doing a long period of time and deciding to get off the team. And then once that vacancy comes out, we'll put out for tryouts. Any patrol officer can put in to try out for the SWAT team. When they try out, it's a very vigorous physical, firearms, mental tryout process. And if they pass that tryout, then we will select from the officers that passed.
Are there an example of some of the partnerships that we have, or is there any activities that are coming up on the calendar where we're helping other teams?
So even this week, Thursday, we're going to Memphis Police Department to train with their TAC team and other teams from around the area, and we're training specifically for the St. Jude Marathon. What we would do if something like what you see on TV sometimes were to happen in Memphis, our teams would be ready to handle that, and it takes us working together and training together. So like I said, just this Thursday, we're going to go spend time with all these teams from the area and make sure that when that marathon comes up in December, that we're ready to handle anything that may happen.
I think that's just a great example of partnerships and cooperation with those around us, and how that translates into a better police officer for our community.
Yes, sir.
It's time to take a short break. When we return, Joanna Young and Kristen Bowman will join us to talk about the community-led Cop Stop program. Please stay tuned.
They'll test you, try to break your will. But however loud the loudness gets, however many cheese puffs may fly, you're the driver, the one in control. Stand firm. Just wait. And move only when you hear the click that says they're buckled in for the drive. Never give up till they buckle up.
You are are watching Germantown Municipal Television, your source for everything Germantown.
Welcome back to On the Beat. I'm your host, Deputy Chief Rodney Bright. The police department and community relationship has been quite the focus of discussion nationally over the last few years. Here in Germantown, we're very pleased and we're very thankful to have the support of our community. One program that has really taken that support to another level is the Cop Stop program. Here today to talk about Cop Stop is Joanna Young and one of the hosts of Cop Stop, Kristen Bowman. First of all, welcome to the show and thank you for hosting us in your home.
Sure. Thank you for having us.
And for those of our viewers that may not be familiar with Cop Stop, I can't imagine there's too many left now. Can you tell us, Joanna, about the program, how it started, and where we're at today?
It started really as a conversation in the park I had with a police officer waiting for my children to get out of school. And I got to know him. He was coming every day to help with dismissal traffic, and just invited him over for dinner one night. And we were doing Friday night state nights at our house already, which was something we started when my husband was in the Marines. And it's kind of grown from there. We met with you and asked if that was something that we could do, and you said we could. And we started hosting every other Friday night. And that started in January of 2015. And by April, others in the community had heard about it and wanted to be involved, and it really just spread like wildfire throughout Germantown. And through posting on social media, that they were hosting, people from all over the country would see their friends' pictures and inquire about what Cop Stop was and contact me. And now we have 31 chapters in 8 states.
Wow, it's just the growth has been tremendous, and I think it really demonstrates the true support that's out there in all the communities for the local law enforcement agency. Planning and creating is one thing, but actually hosting a Cop Stop takes a little bit of work. And first of all, thank you, Kristen, for opening up your home to us today and to our department. Tell us a little bit about what goes into hosting a Cop Stop. Is it you go it alone, or is there other people involved?
We do not go it alone. When I first started hosting about 2 years ago, I just sent all of my neighbors on the street a letter in the mailbox telling them what we were going to do, and gave them the opportunity to contact me if they wanted to help. So I got a big list of email addresses, and we use Sign Up Genius to announce that we're going to have one, tell them what the main dish is going to be, and then they bring sides, drinks, paper plates. They all help. And so usually the morning of Cop Stop, there's just several neighbors coming through to either help or just drop off. So we definitely don't do it alone. We just pick the menu and go from there.
And I think you touched on one thing that some people may miss when we talk about Cop Stop, the value of that relationship. Certainly, it's a great way for our police officers to really get fully engaged in the community and get to know them, as opposed to going on a call for service at their house. But also, what I see is neighbors getting to know neighbors and that relationship that's cultivated. And I think it also helps us because the neighbors are the eyes and ears for us when we're not around.
Right.
I know it's grown, and we're at a home today, but are there other variations of Cop Stop? I know there's been some probably creative ways that people have chosen to do a Cop Stop. Can you talk about that?
Yes, there are. It depends on their communities. There's just not one way to do a Cop Stop. We started in our home, so that's the way that we do it. A lot of people do it in their own homes. I know some communities that are smaller, they'll have their Cop Stops up at City Hall, which is easier for, they might have just 1 or 2 officers, and it's easier for them to get there. We have churches that host, businesses, several Germantown businesses have hosted. We have schools. I think pretty much all the schools in Germantown have hosted before. So it's been really neat to see how creative our hosts get to just invite y'all over to what they're doing.
I know the value to our police department has been tremendous. At a time when support for law enforcement, you see across the country a lot of negative things. I just know it's been extremely important for our officers to feel the support, and I know that they just show up. Can you tell the viewers maybe what to expect if you were to host a Cop Stop, or kind of how things go when the officers show up at the house?
You want to speak to that?
I can speak to that, I guess. We just leave our front door open, and I put just a little cop stop sign out front. They walk in. I remember the first time we hosted one of the officers, I think it might have been Jimmy White. He came in maybe halfway through, the food had been out for about an hour or so. He just made a plate, stuck it in my microwave like he lived here or had visited here, you know, every weekend. So they just kind of make themselves at home, which is really nice. But, you know, we've just really enjoyed it. So, can you speak to that?
Yeah, the host, what they can expect is we just tell them to set their stuff out, buffet style, and the officers know what to do. They come in the door, they serve themselves, they sit down. We encourage our hosts to sit down and eat with them. To foster that, sitting across the dinner table relationship with them, and we very much encourage them to not talk about current events, or what they've seen going on in their neighborhood, but to get to know the officer and the person behind the badge, really. And it's, our hosts are very flexible. We tell them to provide for 15 officers and fire that might show up, but we never know on any given night what's going to be going on in the community. So they know off the bat that they may have one, they may have 15, and we provide for them a way to be able to take food up to headquarters after their cop stop's over so the next shift can enjoy a meal too.
And I think you touched on one key ingredient of the success of Cop Stop is that personal relationship that's cultivated and developed. And it's one thing to have a program that a police agency may have for outreach, but I would say this is taking it to a whole new level. So looking to the future, what does it look like for moving forward ahead for Cop Stop?
I would love for each community in our country to be able to have that, a cop stop in their communities where they're building relationships with their officers. I mean, I think that's very important, given what's going on in our society now, is for the community to know their officers and for the officers to know their community. Relationships change when you get to know someone and share a meal with them. And I would love to see it be a nationwide, program.
Well, I definitely think you set it in that direction for sure, the way it's grown. And I know there's a lot of buzz around community policing, but I really believe that this is a great example of not just talking about it, but we actually live it. So as we close here, if somebody wants to know more about Cop Stop, how they can host or get in touch with you, how could they do that?
Yes, they could go to our website, is www.cop-stop.org. Also, Germantown has a Cop Stop Facebook page, and that's the best way to reach me is through our website.
Well, in wrapping up, I just want to say thank you both for joining us on the show.
Yes.
Thank you for hosting us, and thank you for making a difference in our community.
Thank you for having us.
It's time for another break. When we come back, we'll talk to Captain Mike Fisher about holiday safety. Be back in a bit.
A full life, measured in seats, starts with the right ones early on. Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Learn how to prevent deaths and injuries by using the right car seat for your child's age and size.
You are watching Germantown Municipal Television, your source for everything Germantown.
Welcome back to On the Beat. I'm your host, Deputy Chief Rodney Bright. The busy holiday season is upon us, and with that comes extra attention on safety. Here to speak about some holiday safety and some department-related initiatives is Captain Mike Fisher. Mike, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Certainly we're in the midst of holiday season, as it seems to start early and earlier each year. Just wanted you to share a little about what should we be thinking about maybe when we go out and hit the shopping areas.
Well, as you know, this time of year we often start seeing crimes of opportunity in our shopping centers and around the city. And so what we'd like to do is encourage people to do things that limit those opportunities. For instance, going out shopping, finding parking that's well lit, making sure your doors are locked to your car before you go in the store, making sure that packages are either put in the trunk or hidden somewhere in the vehicle where the passerby can't see them. If you go out in groups, obviously there's always safety in numbers, and that's true for shopping, and that's true for not just the holiday season, any time of year when you're out after dark shopping.
I know it's important. We talked about crimes of opportunity, and a lot of times we think about our house and our cars, but sometimes we may lack personal self-awareness, right? Walking with confidence. Can you speak about just having that look or that sense about you as you go from your car to the store and back?
Absolutely. So many of us now are engaged in what's going on in our mobile devices. We've got our head in our phone, and we'll stop our car and we'll start looking at through emails or messages that we've gotten while we were driving. I would encourage people to put the phones away, get out, and really pay attention to your surroundings as you're going to and from the vehicle. And that way, if you see something that makes you uncomfortable, you can react to it and not put yourself in a position to be a victim.
Sometimes people may be hesitant to call the police, or if they see something that they think suspicious, but I would encourage, what would you say about, I think you mentioned it, if you feel uncomfortable or if you have a little bit of intuition and you see something or you just feel something's not right.
Absolutely. Call us, call the police department, and it's our job to go out and ask questions and nose around. So if it turns out to be nothing, it's nothing. It's what we're here to do, is make sure that everybody's safe and things are the way they're supposed to be.
Certainly personal safety, going to the shopping center, those things are important. Maintain an awareness and pay attention to your surroundings. And what are the few things that maybe back at the home that some of our residents maybe should think about or consider as the holiday season approaches or as they want to travel?
Well, one of the things that I would recommend is if you happen to be traveling during the holiday season, to have somebody that's able to come by and maybe get your mail, get any papers that are left in front of the house, so that you don't advertise that nobody's home. Also, you can have lights set either on timers or just leave lights on. And the other thing, they can take advantage of a service we offer at the police department, the vacation check service. And they can sign up for that by calling the police department or going on the city website and navigating to the police department and signing up there online for a vacation check. And what we'll do with that vacation check is we'll have an officer come by periodically and check on the property. We'll have your information. If anything seems amiss, we'll have the officer give you a call.
I think a lot of our residents probably take advantage of that program more during the summer, vacations, but certainly, even if they're going to be going for a quick weekend trip, that service is available to them.
Certainly.
And also, when we're talking about shopping, certainly going to the business is one thing, but something that's really prevalent, I would say maybe more so than that today, is some of your online shopping stuff. What about any tips or advice for our citizens about online shopping issues?
Absolutely. There's a couple things. When you go to make purchases online, I'd recommend that you go to the actual website of your retailer instead of maybe doing a search engine search for the retailer. If you know the site, go directly to it. That'll keep you from maybe navigating to an erroneous site, which could lead you to put your information into a website that would use it for illegal means. What I would say about the other thing I would recommend is that if you're entering credit card information, that you make sure in the navigation bar you see the little padlock, which represents that particular website is secure.
And after the order takes place, I know that there's been some incidents in our city and others about when the package gets shipped to the home, or people are expecting something, and then they go out there and they get an alert that their merchandise has been shipped and yet it may not find its way to their door.
Right.
What would you say about, some kind of tips or things to think about when you're ordering packages online?
Well, I would recommend that if you can, make sure that you have somebody home to receive the package. A lot of people are working and can't do that. If you can't be home or have a neighbor come over and get the package, many of the shipping companies now offer retail pickup of the packages. You can have it shipped to a location near your home, go by on the way home and pick up those packages. And again, prevent those crimes of opportunity, somebody driving by and seeing the packages out on your front porch.
I think that's very good advice. What if maybe the worst happens, somebody gets an email asking for some personal information, and before they realize it may be something they should be concerned about, what if they feel like their information has been compromised? What advice would you have for someone if that were to occur?
I recommend they call the police department, and we'll have an officer come out, and if need be, we'll take a report, forward that information to our investigators, and see what we can find out for them.
Social media certainly is helpful in what we're doing in our job. What would you say about sharing information about things that they see, are suspicious on social media, nextdoor.com?
I think those are great ways to communicate information amongst the citizens. I would still recommend that if they see something that they think is suspicious or possibly illegal, that they give us a call directly to report those things.
Last, as we wrap up here, what are some things that the police department may be initiating during the holiday season that may be a little bit different in how we go out and try to make sure that there's a safe environment for our shoppers?
Well, generally during the holiday season, we increase our staffing around the shopping centers. We have more officers out in the street. You should see them patrolling, specifically in the shopping centers, patrolling those areas. We have officers dedicated just to those areas.
I think that's really good information, and just thanks for being here. And my takeaways are be aware of your surroundings when you're out shopping, pay attention, don't be afraid to call the police, and take advantage of the online and the shipping measures that may be available to you to help protect your products so that you'll get what you ordered.
Absolutely.
Thank you. That's all the time we have on this edition of On the Beat. Stay tuned to us throughout the year as we spotlight public safety programs and partnerships and bring you interviews with the people who strive to make Germantown a safe place to live, work, and play. If you'd like more information on this show or any other show on Germantown Municipal Television, please visit www.gmtvonline.org. If you have questions about policing in Germantown or topics you would like for us to discuss, feel free to send those by email to my attention at rbright@germantown-tn.gov. We'll see you when On the Beat returns next month.